Salve! Welcome to Latin at Home. Thanks for joining me. You're about to watch an introductory grammar video. I just want to let you know that you may not understand all the concepts that you're hearing in these videos, and that's okay. Don't worry about that. The idea of these videos is just for you to hear about these concepts, hear the technical vocabulary. You'll learn to understand it later as we go through our translation videos. So for right now, just take in what you can, ignore what you can't, and enjoy. This video is going to cover the basics of Latin nouns. There are really only two things you need to know about them. Number one, they decline into cases. I'll explain that in just a moment. And number two, those nouns exist in groups called declensions. So what do these two things mean? Nouns decline. What does it mean to decline a noun? It means to change the ending according to its function in the sentence. Easiest way for me to show this to you is with an example. So let's just have a very basic sentence. Julia loves Quintus. Julia is our subject, loves is our verb, and Quintus is our direct object. So when it comes to Latin, Julia quintum amat, Julia is the subject, so it has a subject ending on it. And Quintus, his name is Quintus. In English, we're always going to translate it as Quintus, but in Latin, because Quintus is the direct object, he has a special direct object ending on the end, and then amat's just the verb. So because the endings determine the function in the sentence, the word order doesn't really matter. So I've just restated this with amat quintum Julia and quintum amat Julia. All three of these Latin sentences translate into English as Julia loves Quintus because it's the ending on that noun that determines its function, not the word order. So let's switch this up and have Quintus loves Julia. So now Quintus is the subject and Julia is the direct object. So in Latin, that looks like this. Quintus Juliam amat. So Quintus is our subject. So Quintus has the subject ending. Julia is the direct object. So Julia has the direct object ending. And then amat's the verb, and that doesn't change. Again, you can reword this however you want. The word order does not determine the translation. It's the ending. So that's what it means to decline a noun. The ending changes according to its function in the sentence. So those different endings are called cases. So the case determines the function. So the cases are nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, and vocative. If this seems like I'm throwing a lot at you, it's okay. Again, this video is just about you getting an introduction to these vocabulary words. It's okay if you're not understanding all of this. So you're going to use a nominative ending if the word is the subject. And you're just going to stick an article in front of it usually, not with a name like Julia, but like a girl or the girl. Articles don't exist at all in Latin, so you have to insert that when you translate into English. Genitive most often shows possession, and it's translated with the word of. Dative very often shows indirect object and is often translated with to or for. Accusative endings are used when the word is a direct object. There are also a lot of prepositions that are followed by nouns in the accusative case. So if it's just a direct object, you're just throwing an article in front of it. If it's a prepositional phrase, you translate that preposition and then put an article in the noun. Ablative has so many uses. I'm just going to summarize it as prepositional phrases. Most often, those prepositions are going to be by, with, or from. Those prepositions may or may not appear in Latin, but we're always going to have them in English. And then finally, the vocative endings are used when you're talking directly to someone. So again, in summary, the endings tell you what case it's in, and then the case tells you its function in the sentence. So you might be asking, what are these endings? Here they are. So this is point number 2. Latin is wonderfully systematic. These nouns are grouped into declensions, and all the nouns in a given declension follow the same ending patterns. So for example, when we saw Julia loves Quintus and Julia was the subject, Julia is a first declension noun. So when she was the subject, it ended in A. When Julia was the direct object, we use accusative for that, that's AM. But then when Quintus was the subject, Quintus is a second declension word. So when he was the subject, that word used an us ending. And when Quintus was the direct object, it used the ending. Now, of these 5 declensions, these top 3 are going to be the most common. Most Latin nouns fit in to the first, second, and third declensions. I have 4th and 5th declension listed because they do exist, but they're not very common. There is one word in the 5th declension that is going to appear quite a bit, and that is the word race. So just be aware that that's there. And finally, one last little point is the name of our Lord Jesus. Notice the I versus the J. This difference is just what time period we're talking about. In ancient Rome, there was no letter J, and at the time it was just an I. In subsequent centuries, the letter J came into use. So you're going to see it both ways, and these are the forms that you'll see it in. So that is all we have for Latin nouns. Again, don't worry if you didn't understand everything this time. It's just a matter of getting introduced to this technical vocabulary and these concepts. You'll come to understand them as we continue to use them in other videos. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. Gratias et vale.